Candy. Why call when you could barge right in, right?
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for our Made in Texas interview series. We are really excited about this two-part special edition where we speak with some of the creatives behind the Max original series Love and Death. Our first interview will be with Michael Click, executive producer, and in part two, we'll be speaking with set decorator Gabriela Villarreal and sound mixer Ben Lowry. Thanks for joining us here today, Michael.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
You have worked on several prestigious crime dramas, including Homeland, 24, and Prison Break, just to name a few. What makes Love and Death different, and what excited you about working on this project?
What makes Love and Death different is A, it's a true story. It's based on a true story. And two, it's a period piece, which for me was a new experience. And I'm always looking for something new to do and new to learn. And I certainly learned a lot doing Love and Death. And Leska Linka Glatter and I worked together for the past 7 years really on Homeland. So we came to Texas and made the show.
Can you tell us a bit about your experience filming in the state?
Working in the state was by and large very positive, and there were so many great locations. So many of the small towns around Austin still have vestiges of that era. So we were able to really, by redressing windows and changing some signs and putting in the proper cars and proper background players and period appropriate costumes, it all looked great. And by and large, the municipalities were very welcoming. We spent a lot of time down in Smithville, and I know we're not the first to have done that. But they couldn't have been nicer and more welcoming and accommodating. We shot in 17 different towns and cities. And the folks at HBO asked me one day, said, well, could we have done this somewhere else? Yeah, we could have done it somewhere else, but it wouldn't have looked good. And Leslie Linka Glatter spent a lot of time selling the community, selling the era, lots of establishing shots. There's lots of walk and talks in streets.
What was the process in selecting locations, and were there any special challenges that you encountered?
We knew certainly what the Gore House looked like, because there's all kinds of photographic records of that from the newspaper. And so we found several homes that fit the bill. The owners were very cooperative, and it all worked out great. And got lucky with the carnival. I actually was driving home from work one night, and I saw a carnival off to the right, temporary one. And I said, let's call that guy. And we did. And then somebody else in scouting down in Seguin, I think is where it was. This guy had a little amusement park, and he had a roller coaster. And so between his roller coaster and the guy with the entertainment business, it all worked out great. So that was like a lucky find. And the other kind of big find was the airport when we went up to Killeen to do that. And those folks were great. They actually closed off half of the ticketing area for us for a morning and half of the concourse and the gates for an afternoon, something we never would have been able to do in Los Angeles or most other places.
Can you tell us about working with the local casting agents?
Yes, Vicki Boone was the Texas casting director. She did a great job, found lots of great local talent, and some of whom were recognizable to me from just seeing other projects. And they did a job. And the extras casting folks, Tony Cobb and her folks, did a really great job because the extras casting was so complicated and in very large numbers, and some of it very specific. We needed volleyball players, and we needed an organist, and we needed babies, and we had very large extras calls on many times, some of the times 200, 250 folks on all that work we did on the street. And even stuff when they were just walking and talking on streets, there were lots of folks. And they just really did a really great job. And I would love to work with them all again. They really were wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for telling us your stories and being here today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.